Imagine this. Your own team announces your replacement while you're still out there fighting for them.
Here we go with Verstappen, but he's going to get overtaken by Sergio Pérez.
You catch a virus that costs you 2 race weekends in the middle of a shortened season. And somehow, none of it stops you.
Perez and Verstappen, oh, the impetus they
You have the best year of your career anyway,
without a victory until today.
and finish it by winning a Formula One race after being dead last on the opening lap. That's not a movie script. That's exactly what happened to Sergio Pérez in 2020. And by the end of this video, you'll understand why people still call it one of the most superhuman seasons Formula One has ever seen. To understand how insane this year really was, you need the context first. The 2020 season started late because of the pandemic. And when it finally kicked off in July, Racing Point had something special, the RP20, a car so close to the 2019 championship-winning Mercedes that people called it the Pink Mercedes. Controversial, yes, but it also handed the team the fastest car in the midfield, by far. Everyone expected Checo to cash in immediately. Fate had other ideas.
And it's lights out and away we go!
Race 1, July 5th, Red Bull Ring. Checo qualified 6th, fought off Charles Leclerc early, and used the first safety car to jump Lando Norris for 4th, before a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane dropped him back down. He finished 6th, but the message was already out. This year was going to be different. 1 week later, same track, the Styrian Grand Prix. Rain scrambled qualifying, and Checo could only manage 17th. A lesser driver settles for damage control. Checo was in the points by lap 14. He sliced through the field, climbed to 5th, and on the penultimate lap went wheel-to-wheel with Alex Albon for 4th. Contact at turn 3 cost him front wing damage, and he finished 6th. Still, from 17th to 6th in one afternoon, on a circuit where overtaking is brutal, that's not luck, that's class. Hungary was quieter, a solid 7th. Then came the gut punch nobody saw coming. Before the British Grand Prix, Checo tested positive for COVID-19 and missed 2 races at Silverstone. Brutal in a season that was already short on races. While he was sidelined, rumors started. Sebastian Vettel, a 4-time world champion, was in talks with Racing Point. On September 9th, it became official. Vettel would take Aston Martin's seat in 2021. After 7 years building that team from the ground up, Sergio Pérez had been told, mid-season, that he no longer had a future there. Think about that for a second. Still recovering from a virus, still expected to deliver every weekend, and the team you gave 7 years to has already replaced you on paper. What would you do? Checo's answer came fast. He returned in Spain on August 16th and finished 5th, a result that undersold how sharp he still was, since Racing Point gambled on a one-stop strategy for him alone, and he made it work through pure tire management. A late penalty for ignoring blue flags dropped him from 4th to 5th, but the point was made. The COVID break hadn't touched his form. At Spa on August 30th, arguably the toughest circuit on the calendar, he qualified 8th and drove a quiet masterclass in consistency to finish 10th. Not flashy, but it was another brick in a wall he was building race by race. Monza, September 6th, brought one of those days that reminds you how cruel this sport can be. He qualified an excellent 4th, then lost it all in a botched pit stop under safety car, followed by contact with Max Verstappen at turn 2 that left his car compromised for the rest of the afternoon. He finished 10th. On paper, a bad day. In reality, another race where the result didn't match the pace. This is where Checo did something most people can't. He took the news of his own sacking and used it as jet fuel. At the Tuscan Grand Prix, his first race after finding out about Vettel, he recovered from a grid penalty to finish 5th, staying in the podium fight the whole way. In Russia, he qualified 4th, held the position under pressure from Esteban Ocon's Renault, and crossed the line 4th again. At the Eiffel Grand Prix, he started 9th, sliced past Charles Leclerc's Ferrari, and finished 4th once more. A late safety car, the only thing standing between him and the podium. 3 races, 3 top 5 finishes. Every single one better than the last. Then, Portugal, October 25th. Formula One's first ever visit to Portimao. Checo qualified 5th and made a strong start, only for Verstappen to clip the back of his car on the exit of turn 3, spinning him into the gravel. 20th place, on lap 1. At a brand new track nobody had raced before. He didn't panic, he hunted. By lap 10, he was back in the points. By lap 30, he was up to 5th with 10 laps left. Before tire wear let Pierre Gasly and Carlos Sainz slip past late on, he finished 7th, having clawed back 13 positions in one race. He was named Driver of the Day for the second time that season. Then came Imola, and this is the part worth getting exactly right, because it's the cruelest chapter of the season. Racing Point had a rough qualifying. Checo was eliminated in Q2 and lined up 11th, but in the race, he was on fire. A long, disciplined first stint on used tires carried him all the way up to 3rd place. With Verstappen's late retirement opening the door, the podium was genuinely his to lose, and then Racing Point lost it for him. Worried about tire wear, the team called him in for a second stop under the late safety car, a call the drivers behind him didn't copy. He rejoined in 6th and couldn't get back past 6th place after running 3rd. Checo himself put it bluntly afterward. The team had basically handed the podium to Daniel Ricciardo. He called it a year of lost opportunities. It's one of the most painful near misses of his whole career. And honestly, it makes what came a few weeks later even sweeter. November 15th, Istanbul. Torrential rain, near zero grip, the kind of race that separates real drivers from the rest. Checo qualified 3rd and drove like the conditions didn't exist. Racing Point rolled the dice on a one-stop strategy. For a moment, he even led, before Lewis Hamilton, on the same strategy, got past. Then Leclerc came charging on fresher tires in the closing laps, actually got ahead on the final lap, then outbraked himself into the last corner, handing the place straight back to Checo. 2nd place, his first podium of the season. And a very clear message to anyone watching. I am not going to be left without a seat. Red Bull was watching all of it. In Bahrain, Checo jumped to 3rd on lap 1 and looked completely comfortable, until the race was red flagged for Romain Grosjean's terrifying crash. When it resumed, he held 3rd with 5 laps to go, the podium all but locked in. Then his engine let go. White smoke, retirement, an 18 race point streak snapped by something completely outside his control. 1 week later, at the same track for the Sakhir Grand Prix, Formula One produced arguably its most jaw-dropping comeback of the modern era. And Checo was the man behind it. Lap 1, Leclerc, desperate to gain places, made contact with him. Checo spun to last, 17 cars ahead, on the shortest track on the calendar, where overtaking is nearly impossible. Over the radio, he just smiled and said, "Relax, we're coming for them." What followed looked less like racing and more like a highlight reel on Fast Forward. Norris, Albon, Ocon, Stroll, one by one, gone. By lap 20, he was back in the points. By lap 40, he was up to 3rd. And then, up front, Mercedes imploded. A chaotic double pit stop left Valtteri Bottas on the wrong tires and cost George Russell time in his own stop. The man who'd been dead last on lap 1 was suddenly leading the Sakhir Grand Prix. 17 laps stood between Checo and history, with Russell closing hard behind on fresher rubber. Then, with 8 laps left, Russell picked up a puncture, and the door slammed shut behind him for good. Sergio Pérez crossed the line first. From last to first, in the modern era of Formula One, something that essentially never happens. 2 weeks later in Abu Dhabi, his final race for the team after 7 years, a grid penalty sent him to the back before a power unit failure ended his day early. One more result that didn't reflect the season he'd actually had. Added up anyway. 15 races out of 17, 2 missed to COVID. 125 points, a personal best by a wide margin, more than double his 2019 total in 2 fewer races. 4th in the championship, his highest finish ever. 1 win, 2 podiums, 5 fourth places, an 18 race point streak, 2 Driver of the Day awards. He was the only driver besides Hamilton to score points in every single race he actually started. And the man who replaced him? Sebastian Vettel finished 13th that year with 33 points, roughly a quarter of what Checo scored in a car that, for most of the grid, was considered a copy rather than an original. On December 18, 2020, Red Bull Racing confirmed Sergio Pérez as Max Verstappen's new teammate for 2021. Christian Horner said plainly that Checo had earned it. Even Helmut Marko, never one for compliments, admitted the Sakhir drive was extraordinary. Red Bull hadn't just seen a good driver. They'd seen someone who turned a season built to break him into the best audition of his career. Normal people crack under that kind of pressure. A virus, a public sacking, mechanical failures, crashes that weren't his fault. Checo took every single one of those setbacks and converted it into speed. 2020 wasn't the year he saved his career. It was the year he relaunched it. If a comeback like this hits you the way it hits me, worth remembering next time something knocks you down, that's exactly the kind of story we build these documentaries around. Subscribe if you want the next one in your feed, and drop a comment with the driver or the season you think deserves this treatment next.